what is my purpose? Like, I could have died at 21 years old. Like, what is my purpose? At that time, I was just coasting through life. I was going to school, trying to get my degree, figure out what's next. Now I was like, okay, I have some like fiery passion I need to find in my life and figure out what my greater purpose is that I'm here on earth. I felt like it changed everything. It brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to my family. But it also just made me more thankful to be alive. All right, let's do this. When I was a junior in college and I was in art class one day, I got this horrible headache, and I never got headaches. And it was during midterms. I wasn't sleeping a lot, but when I would, turn my head, I started blacking out. My classmates, they said, hey, you should go down to the school doctor and check it out. So I went there. The nurse, she said, oh no, you're just tired from midterms. You haven't been sleeping. We'll have the doctor come in. Then the doctor comes in, and he was like, it could be from midterms or you could have a brain tumor. And I was just like, how did it go from like I'm tired from not sleeping to it could be a tumor? So they did like a CT scan, and they said, okay, we found something. It's in the balance part of your brain. We don't know how you could walk. We don't know how you could do any of these functions. And I thought they were joking because I was like, there's no way. I didn't feel, any different. I'm able to walk. I played sports. I do art. And it just felt like, wow, like everything at once hit me. I was like, okay, I have this tumor, like what's next? So I had to get a few different opinions and make sure it was a tumor. And it ended up being a little bigger than they thought it was. It was benign. Thankfully, I didn't have cancer. And they knew that right away, but it was still something they didn't know how fast it was growing. It was affecting my balance. And then a few months later, in July, they had to shave my head. They had to do surgery. I had 25 staples in the back of my head. And then because I had no balance issues before the surgery, after they took the tumor out, they said you're gonna have really bad balance issues because they're gonna be poking around that area. So when they took it out, I mean, imagine spinning in a circle 10 times and trying to stand still, but every day, all day long. So I was just sick, vertigo, dizzy. But that whole process, it just made me realize, okay, like God saved my life, because if I didn't have that headache, I would have never found the tumor, and it could have gotten a lot worse later down the line. My earliest memory of a camera, I'd say, is my dad always had cameras around. He loved to take pictures of me and my brother just to capture memories. So I feel like I just grew up with a camera around, whether he was doing videos or pictures. I would kind of take whatever cameras my dad had and I would try to shoot stuff. I feel like from a very young age, I started with art and drawing and everything. And then that kind of led into photography as I got a little older, because I just love being able to capture memories of my friends and share it. And then as I started getting into high school, social media was starting to come around. So then it was fun because I was able to share my photos with other people, and then they could share the photos, on the internet. And so I feel like I was able to really kind of explore that side of it when I was in high school. My only dream at that point had been to work in the visual effects industry and work in entertainment. So I had a hard time thinking of what else I could do, but I just felt like I had a bigger purpose and something outside of this. I felt like I wasn't fulfilled in my day-to-day job. And it was like an emotional roller coaster. I would say almost every day I come home from work, I would cry for months and months and months. I just hated everything that I was doing. I love like the creative side of it and I love the process, but I just didn't like the atmosphere, and I just felt like something else was calling me, but I didn't really know what. I started hearing about, this league in LA called the Drew League, and I was actually a part of like a Laker message board at the time, a bunch of Laker fans, and they were like, hey, we should go down there. I heard there's NBA players playing at this small gym. And so a group of us decided to go down there, and nobody else showed up from the message board. I was the only person that showed up. So I was by myself, and luckily I brought the camera that I had. It wasn't like super high technology, but it was good enough. And my first day was like James Harden, DeMar DeRozan, OJ Mayo, The Game. Like there were so many different big players there. Part of it is I had a taste of something that I was passionate about, but there was just no way to monetize it. Because at the time, as a photographer, you could only make money if you worked for a newspaper, if you worked for a media outlet. And I was just taking free pictures at this summer Pro-Am league of all these, amazing players, but the outlets didn't want it. I would try to pitch it to different companies and they're like, nobody cares what players do in the off season. Nobody cares about what they're wearing. Nobody cares about their shoes. And to me, that's all I had access to. So I just kept capturing these moments. On top of all of those struggles, another layer is being a female around everybody. And being a female that stands out. Like, I'm tall, I'm blonde, I wear makeup. And I feel like a lot of people, especially when I started shooting like local, not just at the Drew League, just any local event I was going to, a lot of people kept questioning my intentions. Like, what are you really here for? Why would a pretty girl be down here taking free pictures of NBA players? Like, what do you really want? And so I had a lot of like negative stereotypes working against me. And it was just like so frustrating because I really just wanted to take photos. I didn't have any ulterior motives. And I felt like it took years and years before I was able to like establish myself in that world to where people said, okay, like she's actually here because she wants to do this. And so I felt, and I still feel like to this day, I see a lot of other, especially guys, don't have those issues. Like they just kind of like float and breeze by when it comes to certain issues like that. They could just go to a player's hotel room and edit with them and go talk to them, or go in the guy's locker room and shoot. And for me, I have to be like aware of my situations and be aware how I, present myself or how I talk to certain people. So, and there's a million other challenges that come with just weird interactions, but I feel like that was, in the beginning, one of the biggest struggles that I had never even thought about being an issue.
Drew League, gyms at UCLA, random high school. So I'm just like, yo, there can't be one person that does all this shit because it's way too much. So I think like, that's what I'm just saying. I'm like, yo, she really be grinding out like this. Yeah,
I remember that was the first thing you said to me. Like, I thought this was a company.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's just lost. One person. Yeah. The entertainers, they kind of need cameras around them. Athletes don't. Athletes just need to go to workouts, play games, do well, and go home. They don't need to have anybody in their personal lives, honestly. It took them a while to kind of open up, but as they would, I never took it for granted. I just felt like they're giving me such intimate access into their lives with my camera, and the last thing I'd ever want to do is violate their trust. And I just thought about putting myself in that position. How would I feel if I allowed somebody in my life and then they just put me on blast? I think a big part of starting off as a female in this industry or any industry is having the confidence that you can do it and that you deserve to be in those rooms. I think a lot of times I have come across women before me that were photographers or professionals, and it felt like they had earned their spot and there's only room for one woman and everybody else is like competition. I don't think that that's the case. I feel like it's better to uplift each other than to try to fight people and tear people down. You have to, toe the line of being professional, but also being your authentic self. I love my style. I love to wear different sneakers. I love to play around with my looks. And then I also love to take the best photos possible. So I think balancing those two things out and really just being confident in being yourself, but also understanding that there are gonna be stereotypes against you and just making sure that you can prove those wrong without being mean or bitter about it. I think that's the best way to approach just anything.